This is Denis O'Hare. Check out the Dave and Creech Show.
This is the Dave and Creech Show, the only podcast where podcaster CJ Creech and actor Dave Sheridan come together to talk all things entertainment with your favorite entertainers. Want to ask our guests a question? Tweet them to @DaveSheridan or @CJCNOV88, and they may be asked to our guests live on the show. We do have to ask you stay seated during the podcast because this ride may get a little bit hilarious. Now here's your hosts, Dave and Creech.
Hey everybody out there, welcome to the Dave and Creech Show. This is episode 22, if you're listening to it on the podcast.
Sounded like you said 22. Is it?
No.
What did you say?
22.
22.
22.
Not
Yes, and it's actually episode 3 on WROM. So we're getting up there in numbers now with them.
Did we ever
as well.
figure out
So it's
what
actually
Did we ever figure out what WROM stands for? What the hell is ROM? Is it like because it's a computer-based radio, streaming thing, and then that's like ROM, like random operating something? I don't even memory, random operating memory. What is ROM
radio
against?
online movement? I don't know.
The radio online movement. You're listening to WROM. The radio online movement. I don't know. Movement is, media, radio online media. Media maybe, but I don't. Movement, really, dude?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it could be media, I guess.
What do we got on the show today, Creech? Let's find out.
Well, we've got a bunch, actually. We're going to be talking news, entertainment, and weird. Plus, we're going to have 2 interviews, as you had said at the end of last week's podcast. For those who hadn't heard before, we're going to be playing part of Ryan Colluci's interview that we did with him. Actually, by the time they hear this, the Kickstarter that he was running is actually over, and they met their goal. They surpassed it, actually. Last time I checked, it was at $34,000. They were trying to raise $30,000. So congratulations to them. We're also got an interview with Denis O'Hare, who is a mainstay on the American Horror Story series. He was also one of the big bads
He was
in
a
True
what?
Blood.
Oh, big bad.
He was a big bad in True Blood.
Haven't seen either show. Which one do you like better? Which one's better? If I had to watch one, which one would I watch?
I think you would enjoy American Horror Story more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, True Blood gets at times like the your stereotypical HBO show, where it's a lot of gore and a lot of boobs.
Okay.
But
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was considered stereotypical HBO show. Now, name me?
It usually is.
What's the other show that was
I mean,
what was the other show that was gore?
There's the other show that's going on right now that everybody knows about called Game of Thrones, aka Tits and Dragons.
Okay, aka Tits and I've never seen that either, but obviously I've heard of it, and I've heard of the other one too, the werewolf one. It's werewolves, right? The True Blood.
There is werewolves in True Blood, but it's mainly vampires.
Oh, okay.
But then there's witches and everything that they add into the later seasons. It gets pretty confusing near the end.
Let me ask you a question on the True Blood thing. Is that show still going on, or is that
no?
Okay, so that's done.
No, it ended. Yeah, it ended after 7 seasons. And that last season, the ending, it was one of those horrible finales that no show should ever get.
What's that?
Just where it's a very unsatisfying ending to the series that's completely against everything the show's been building up to.
I don't know anything about the show. I've never seen it. But did a really good-looking guy drive off in a motorcycle? That's all I want to know.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, you're right. Then that's a terrible ending.
Yes, it was a very odd ending to do for the show, and granted, Dennis was in some of the best seasons they did, so we've got some of the better representation of True Blood.
Okay.
On the show later today.
So wait, now go back
tonight.
Go back to American Horror Story. What is that about? Because I heard that one is every season is really different or something, right? So
Yeah, pretty much every season's completely different, but it's also connected.
that seems complicated to me. I mean, I don't like too many TV. First of all, I don't watch a lot of TV only because it is effort to watch television, when you only have so many hours in a day, in a week, and you got to commit to it and you got to like follow it and you got to remember it. You got to remember like, what was this? What was last season? What do I got? And I have a terrible memory.
The thing with American Horror Story is that
who am I talking to? Hello?
You're talking to Creech.
Oh, yeah. And I told you, I have a terrible memory, dude. Sorry about that. Go ahead. American Horror Story.
The thing with American Horror Story is that you can actually watch any season standalone, and you don't have to have seen the other ones for it to make sense.
Yeah, but see, okay, so right there, I'm not interested because I like committing to a TV series, right? I like Lost, let's say, or our favorite show, The Walking Dead. I like committing to watching and then watching and then watching when I pick one. You know what I mean? Breaking Bad, for instance, or whatever. When you're telling me, you could watch one season and that's all you need to watch. Well, to me, it's like, well, then I just wasted a lot of time to get involved for a one season thing. And I know you're saying, but you might get hooked in and watch the other seasons. But there's another series like that True Detective stuff with like the one that had Matthew McConaughey and then they rebooted it.
Yeah, but the difference is True Detective, the second season completely sucked, whereas American Horror Story is pretty exceptional every season.
Well, let me ask you one question.
And they use the same actors in different roles.
They use the same actors, and the actors play different roles. So that's kind of cool, but also confusing to me since I haven't seen it. Explain that. Is it like are they in a different dimension or like a different time zone? Like meaning like does one take place in 1947, the next one's in 1975? How does that work?
First off, they all take place in the same universe, but they do take place in different time frames, different cities, locations, what have you. And the actors are playing different characters. And if you watch all of the seasons, you will pick up on references to prior seasons and flat out just going back to locations from the previous seasons. However, if you were to just, for instance, watch American Horror Story Hotel, which is the most recent one that aired, you may not get the reference when certain characters go back to the house from season one, but then if you've been watching the whole time, you're like, okay. But basically, they're all interconnected. It is different. Like, some will take place in the 40s, some are current day, but they're all really well written, and they do stand alone. But yeah, there's the same actors, different characters. No character really crosses over into any of the other series.
Okay, all right. I know I'm going to figure it out. So what else is going on?
Well, that pretty much takes care of the intro. I do want to talk really quickly to those that haven't seen, which if they haven't, I mean, come on, what's going on? We've got our first shirt going up right now, featuring the characters from Orient City. We did have Ryan and Zomber's blessing to use their designs for the shirt.
What'd you do? Reach out? And you asked them or something?
I did, because I just want to make sure. And so I reached out and they were fine. So it's a little flashback shirt. Technically, it's not much of a flashback or throwback with the Orient City design, but on the very back it does say almost as cool as Jerry's medals. Which, when this all started, you had that long story about Jerry Over and his medals.
Did I ever post that picture of me with the medals?
You did.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, those are great medals.
Yeah. Yeah, so on the back of the shirt it says almost as cool as Jerry's medals.
Okay, no one's going to know what the hell that means.
Well, if they're going to read it, they're going to be like, what is that? And then hopefully, if they're buying the shirt, they are at least have listened to the show enough to be able to explain it. So then it kind of, I know this is going really deep, but we let the fans ask their favorite actors questions and basically help do the interview, whereas now they're going to be the ones getting interviewed with the question on what that means on the shirt.
Okay. That's a good point. They're going to be or someone's going to talk behind them in line, possibly at a Starbucks, like where I'm at, going like, who the hell's Jerry? Who's Jerry Metals? They're going to think it's Jerry Metals, like some guy that was like, that's his last name. Like, who the hell's Jerry Metals? I never heard of Jerry Metals.
Or they're going to think it's some business.
Yeah. Or did you put
Jerry's Metals?
Was it
Jerry's? Yeah.
Jerry's. Did you remember to put the apostrophe S?
Yes, I did.
Only on one. Only on the S behind Jerry, not his metals is just a plural, right? You got that right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
So I know nothing about, like, what is this? They go to Teespring and they buy the shirt?
Yes, they go to Teespring, and Teespring does all basically. They do all the work.
Uh-huh.
They make the shirt, they print the shirt, they ship the shirt.
You probably can do full color with Teespring. Can you do full color with Teespring? And but you had like a throwback black and white design or whatever.
Well, that and the image was in white. So I didn't want to like put the rest of it in color and then have the white box with the characters in it. So I was like, let's just make it all white to fit that whole, old school style or whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about design. I'm not much of a design guy. Although I have to go home. That's why I drank a Red Bull earlier. I got it. My son's got something for his end of year presentation to his teacher. He's in second grade and he wants me to put him on a bear with like a sword. And so we took photos of him sitting on a boulder with his shirt off and a sword, holding a sword. And then I got to Photoshop that on top of a bear. So he's like that. He's kind of I don't know. I don't understand kids these days, that's for sure. But either way, I'll do a good job of that. So I'll post that on Twitter when it's all said and done so you guys can see the Rocco on a bear with a sword. I think he wants me to put some cuts across his chest or some blood on his face or something like that. It's one of those typical... That
sounds interesting for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those second grade, bring it into school for your presentation things. Typical crap that those second graders are doing nowadays.
All right, well, are you ready to talk some news?
Here's the situation, just so people know. Creech, you like to send me links either during the week or right before the show, and then I go on the internet and I look at the articles that you've already perused as well, so therefore we can talk about the specific stories together as our sort of news situation. But because I'm sitting here in the Starbucks parking lot, I could click on them right now. However, I don't want to do anything that might interfere with our great connection that we're having right now. So what I would like you to do is we'll talk about them. If I need a little bit more details, I can ask you for it. And I'm really just going to give you my unbiased Dave Sheridan bullshit opinion, since I have one. Y'all have one.
That sounds great. And okay, yeah, I can definitely do that.
You know what they say, right? Opinions are like assholes, right? You know that, right?
Yes, everybody's got one.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know. I just thought I thought opinions were jerks. I thought they were saying opinions are jerks. Okay. No, I get it now. Oh, that's funny. Oh, God, everyone has one. Okay, go ahead.
The first one, actually, I believe we texted about, kind of around this. It would have been great to have him on this week because of this news story, but your buddy Mark Boone Jr. is actually a part of this news. I don't know if you saw anything on Twitter or anything, but basically over the weekend there was supposed to be this gigantic Sons of Anarchy cast reunion at this convention called Space City Comic-Con in Texas. However, it basically put the con in Comic-Con, so to speak.
Can I just say one thing? I'm going to stop you right there. But you can edit this to where you keep talking about, man. First of all, there's a little bit of a lightning thunderstorm that's happening right now. So I've got these pretty awesome lightning strikes off in the distance. And then, and I'm not kidding, this must have been a meteorite because not a shooting star, because this thing was like closer. You know what I'm saying? And at the same time the lightning was striking, this meteor was falling to the ground as I was looking out the window here at Starbucks parking lot. That's pretty cool. That's something now. It's almost like I'm reporting the Hindenburg, except it's just lightning and a meteorite. But I mean, how many times is there a lightning shower and a meteorite shower at the same time? I mean, you know, if it's a full moon somewhere else around here, it's a full moon somewhere in the world, but I can't see. I feel like I'm reporting like this is Dave Sheridan on, you know, in the field reporting. I'd be a wreck if I was like reporting from like a war zone or something, wouldn't I? They'd be the ADD embedded. Can you imagine like the embedded reporter like with a war zone who's got ADHD and he's just yapping about all sorts of dumb shit like out in the field and be like, oh my God, they're just bombing the hell out of these people. But you got to see these Jeeps. They're really cool green color. And I've actually never seen that green color before. And I don't know if those tires are like anti-deflatable, but like they haven't gone flat yet. Anyway, hey, this vest I'm wearing, it's like a black thing, but it's kind of itchy. So, you know what I mean? That's what an ADHD guy would do. He'd go all over the place reporting his story. So, because I have ADHD and I can only take so much meds for it, it's still not going to work. So that probably means I really don't have that. Let's go back to Mark Boone Jr. and your story. It was called, what was the name of the con?
Space City Comic-Con.
What the hell's Space City? Is that like a nickname for a Texas town, or is that the actual town?
That's not the town at all, I don't believe. I think it was just one of those random names that's what they came up with for their convention.
Okay. Where is it at? Where was the convention?
It was in Texas. I'm looking throughout the article for an actual place or location in Texas, but I'm not seeing it right now. I'm sure it may come up when I read the article. But basically, this is what happened. I'm reading the article right now. It says, thousands made their way to NRG Park this year for Space City Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. The main attraction was the cast of FX's smash hit show Sons of Anarchy. The fans poured in and spent an upward of thousands of dollars to get their chance to score autographs, pictures, and VIP treatment at the event. What they received, however, was far from what they paid for, and many of the general admission ticket holders were treated better than the VIPs. Many VIPs opened their wallets and depleted their savings for this once-in-a-lifetime event. And the reviewer states that they attended this event to review it and cover the festivities for everyone who couldn't make it, yet when she had shown up, she was blown away at how disorganized the convention was. Long lines for VIPs, panels canceled, and photo op tickets not being honored. She's never seen such a poorly ran event.
It sounds like this event, let me just stop right there, because I've never heard of this Space City thing, but it sounds like it's run by the Jetsons or something. But NRG, that sounds like it's in Dallas. That just sounds like a type of place that would be in Dallas. Or wait, NRG, like energy. So maybe it's in Houston. Anyway, I'll look into that, but I just saw another meteorite, man. This is crazy. See, this is the ADHD reporter guy. But I've never heard of Space City. It sounds to me like it's either it hasn't been run that many years and that's the thing. As you know, you've been to enough cons. There's cons that are run really well, and there's cons that are run really shitty, because a lot of cons are started by fans themselves who, after going to some cons, get the idea of, oh, I could start a con. Let me run a con. I can work a con. Or they start by, you know, they get involved with conventions by being a volunteer. They work at a convention for a while. They kind of get the contacts of the agents, the booking agents, and then they see an opening to start their own con. But yet it's a big difference between running a con, which takes a year to get the con going, meaning the day that a convention ends, they start planning that convention for the next year. You know what I mean? It's a whole year of planning and organizing, getting volunteers and stuff. So a poorly run con will always be a bad convention. It just will always be. If it's not run right, then it's failure from the bottom and the top together. It's going to collapse. And the whole VIP thing and the VIP line being a mess that she's talking about, and the photo op tickets not being honored, that does sound like just a train wreck. And that sounds like it's in management in a situation, which we're going to get to the Mark Boone thing in a minute. But obviously, whatever you're about to say about him or any of those actors, if I was to show up at a train wreck of a convention, then there's a good chance I already know right away that I'm not going to get paid for the money they promise you to. Yeah, you're going to show up here and here's your booking money, here's your hotel, and most likely you're checking into hotels and there's problems there. Don't forget, conventions are double-sided. All the actors that get booked at these conventions, well, they're also dealing with whatever management is screwing up the photo op and screwing up the VIP. Imagine how they're screwing up the actors handling as well, picking them up at the airport, booking the flights. The flights are probably fucked. Not waiting at the airport to get picked up. The shuttles are probably screwed up. The hotel rooms are probably screwed up. The meals, whatever it is probably trickling down just as bad on that side. Do you know what I'm saying, Creech?
I do.
Okay, so I just want to set that up for people as you get into the story more. I already feel bad for any actor that was at this show. For everything you said to me, I feel bad. Although it sounds to me like this article is also written by somebody that was a VIP ticket holder and was not happy. Is that correct?
No, they were media.
But they were media, but it sounds, if you read that again, I thought it was like she also indulged in the VIP pass. Read it over again.
No, she was stating that most cases, because she interviewed
people,
convention goers, and most of the VIPs were actually treated worse than the general admission people.
So did she interview?
Because basically what happened?
Wait. Did she also interview general admission people?
Yes.
And they said
she interviewed everybody.
Okay, I'm just wondering how general admission people would know that they're treated better than VIP people. I've been treated better than that guy.
Well, in the sense that the general admission people didn't spend $800 for tickets and not get what they paid for.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And basically, there's nothing else about Mark Boone other than the fact that he was there. But they interviewed somebody else there who his name is Rusty Coons. He was another actor from the show.
Rusty.
And she continues writing, while talking with Mr. Coons, it became clear that many of the reports on social media were correct. She's referring to everybody that just basically started dogging the convention on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, and whatnot. She refused to report on any of it, though, until she had information directly from a source. So she was interviewing Rusty, and she found out more information about what was going on. And pertaining to Mr. Charlie Hunnam, who played Jax, was the main person. Doesn't really do conventions. Right. Came to this one, and when he went to cash his check at the bank, he found out that the check that was given to him was written from an account that had been closed. What happened next?
Let me stop the recording right there. Okay, Charlie's an idiot. All right, I don't know the guy, but you don't take a check. First of all, you don't take a check, get on a plane, and then go cash it from a convention. You get paid in cash. You know, when you go to these conventions, you get the cash when you land in a fucking bag, and you say, bitch, better have my money. Where's my fucking cash, right? Give me the cash, and I'll go sit at your freaking table. I want my cash. I want my guarantee, right? And you got to go old school like the rock and roller. Who's that guy? Chuck Berry. You know what I'm saying? Cash, man. Cash is king. You never roll out with a freaking check. That I've never even heard of that. That's crazy.
Well, basically what happened was this happened to the entire cast.
Many
of the actors actually
took checks. They all took checks.
They all took checks. And so what happened was many of the actors that wound up going to the promoter's office to demand payment, when the promoter ended up calling the cops because he felt he was being held hostage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's about to get his ass whooped. Tarred and feathered. Where's the cash? You got a box of cash somewhere there, man. People paid at the door. Where's the money?
It also says the cast was in no way, they in no way held him hostage, but did want answers and payment. To continue adding on to the issues, the panel schedule was completely jacked up. The cast was not given the correct times for photo ops and for panels. The Friday panel was canceled due to the AVI team refusing to allow anyone on stage until they were paid. They were promised payment up front. Instead, they weren't paid, and they decided to pull the plug on the event. The cast was all there waiting to go on to do the panel, but it seems that the event promoter broke the contract not once but twice and then attempted to pay the cast with pre-sale ticket money, which would explain why there were so many inconsistency and ticket gouging happening online. Many people were forced to buy the VIP pass because there was no option to purchase a day pass. Overall, it was clear after this interview that a huge con had taken place, leaving the cast unpaid and the fans unaware of what was happening. The promoter was described by cast as a fraud, unethical, and has broken the contract twice.
Con. It was a con. The con.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Well, I don't know. I mean, that's what I said. Like, if you don't know the convention, you haven't heard of it, it hasn't run for 15 years, you got to get your money up front, or you don't show up. You say, I'm not going to show up until I see the money. You know what I mean? Because I don't trust you. You shouldn't trust the person. And the other thing is, I don't know. Bad agents, too. I don't know what agents would set their actors up to get in that involvement. You know what I mean? Oh, I was thinking when you were saying, I had to call the cops. I felt like I was threatened. Because you got to imagine it's the Sons of Anarchy crew. And they all really do kind of embody those characters for real, you know what I'm saying? They kind of are like that, you know, like Boone is like Boone on that show, and they're probably all wearing their Sons of Anarchy vests, or they definitely have that biker look already. So if you have a room full of those guys, that could be kind of imposing, you know? The one guy, David, is a real Hell's Angels guy from that show.
Well, yeah, that's what happened this weekend, and obviously the promoter's trying to do, I guess you could say, spin control, saying that it was the actor's fault. They didn't understand what was described to them, or this or that, or they didn't handle things correctly. But it's just a mess, and I would be extremely surprised if there is a Space City Comic-Con next year.
Yeah, listen. For this guy to blame the actors, this guy, I don't know who this person is or how many cons he's run or how many of this Space City's been run, but these actors have all been to a lot of conventions. And so they know when a fish smells like a fish, and they know when something's being upfront and when things are run the right way. They know it. And also, I would say you get the cast of Sons of Anarchy, and if anything just gets a sense of going south, those dudes could be, I can see those guys not helping the situation. That is for sure. You know what I'm saying? It's an interesting dilemma. I think that guy should.
That it is.
Yeah, I think when you're booking Sons of Anarchy cast convention, I think you should make sure you have your ducks in a line and your dominoes ready to fall into place, meaning make them happy. You're always got to make your talent happy. If you're producing a movie or you're running a convention or you're booking professional wrestling, talent comes first, because the talent is what's holding the whole thing together. So when those people get off the plane, you got to make sure that, they are treated with white gloves from picking them up, booking them into the hotels, making sure they got the per diem, maps of the local areas. What do you need to eat? Can I get you any food? Here's your money. Make sure that they feel, at least in the first, 24 hours, make sure that they feel like they're being catered to, they're being treated right. And you're basically taking any suspicion and any secondary thoughts of what the fuck is this, what's going on, away. If you could take care of the talent, then they'll be all in, and they're going to support you and your convention and work for you and make it a great convention as well. And so whatever hiccups this guy might have ran into, like the AV crew or, the photo op problems, if the actors were on board and they were taken care of, they would have smoothed it out and made it work, because they're performers. So they would have said, we're doing the panel without it. We don't need AV. We'll be loud enough. We'll talk. Let's do this. Screw the AV people. You know what I'm saying? They would have circled up and helped the promoter if he would have treated them right. And if anything, you don't have a football team unless you have the football players, so you can't go play a game. And a convention is only as good as the talent that's actually going to be there. A convention's not the AV guy or the photo op person taking the photos. Do you know what I'm saying, Creech?
I do. I know exactly what you're saying.
I think the guy James that runs that Walker Stalker Con, he's done it right from the very beginning. I've heard nothing but great things about him and the convention, and the actors love doing those, and the people participating, going to conventions, have a great time. So that's a very well-organized machine, and hence why they keep, broadening out and doing more of them in different cities. Am I correct?
Exactly. Oh, you are definitely correct. Yeah, they do a wonderful job at all the cities I've been to of these, and it seems like there's no end in sight. And like I said, they do a fantastic job, and I love going as press.
There is an end. Chattanooga. Chattanooga is the ending. That's the last convention that will ever happen with a Walker Stalker. It'll be in the year 2027. Anyway, we could talk about that when we get there.
Okay, yep. We only have 11 more years, so we've got some time.
That is right. By the way, I was hoping for a little more salaciousness on the Boone thing, because you're like, speaking of your buddy Boone, and God, I wish you would have had him on so we could talk about this. Well, there was a convention, and I'm just thinking, this is going to be good. He cracked a chair over the guy, and he got arrested, and, he was running around in his tighty-whitey underwears and throwing bacon strips at people and sticking his... I thought, he had a bad LSD trip. And then you're like, yeah, actually, he's not even mentioned in the article at all, but Rusty Combs is... I'm like, okay, what the hell is this?
Yeah, well, just because he was there, and we could have had his perspective on things if he'd have been on this episode.
You know what, he doesn't have a short-term memory. If we have him on next week or in 2 weeks, we can talk to him about conventions, and I heard about the one in Space City. How'd that one go there, Boone? Yeah, he'll chat about it. He's not going to be like, I don't remember that one. I would have talked about it the week that it happened, but I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
Very true.
You guys should have called me 3 weeks ago.
Well, all right, I will let you work on that. Now, that's pretty much going to be all we're going to have time to talk about news-wise. I had one of our listeners tweet at me a book, and it actually seems like a pretty good book, so I'm going to give it a quick plug. It's called Everything a Memoir, and it's basically a book about battling being bullied in high school. So it seems pretty interesting. So if anybody out there wants to read a book about a high school bullying incident, apparently this is based on a true story, so definitely check it out.
Read the book. That'd be cool. I've never read a book in my life, so maybe you'll read the book and tell me how you like it. But I would say there's all this negativity about bullying. You know what I mean? Bullying's been around since Adam and Eve, and then Cain and Abel, right? Hell, Satan bullied them somehow to bite that apple, I would imagine. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that bullies, just like sharks, right? And the ecosystem of growing up, in the ecosystem of our society, and the ecosystem of creating people that are driven, bullies serve a natural place in our human, society. And we shouldn't, you can't exterminate bullies. You know what I mean? That's a PC way of looking at things. That's actually going to hinder and hurt our society. Bullies serve a very useful tool in our adolescence, in even our workplace right now in society. What bullies serve as is, helping other people have drive and inspiring people to get revenge. And I'm going to show that guy. If Mark Zuckerberg wasn't bullied in 8th grade, he would have never invented Facebook or Bill Gates. I'm sure he was bullied, you know what I mean? And went on to become worth $80 billion, So I think bullies definitely, there are people that respond negative to bullies and they might be pushed further into a shell, but there's also that type of personality that can rise above the bully and actually be bettered by the bully and will come back to their 10th year reunion like you came back and be, more successful than they would have ever been if they weren't bullied in the first place. Does that make any sense, Creech?
Kind of does. I didn't get bullied because I was a big guy, so nobody messed with me.
Right.
But yeah, I know. I see what you're saying.
If that one more guy was bigger than you and he could have bullied you, maybe you'd be twice as successful as you are now. Maybe. I don't know. But it does happen. And America as a society, more than the world, I really could care less. I'm focused on making America great again, just like Donald Trump. And I believe, and that's why he's a number one bully. We need a great bully for president. We need to get the bullies back in the high school. We need bullies in college. We need hazing. We need really dick-headed fraternities just to make people just rise above that, have enemies. You got to have an enemy. You got to have a target. You know what I mean? You got to have a thing going, I'm going to do better than Chet. I'm going to show that guy Chet. I'm going to be more famous than Chet. I'm going to be more successful than Chet. I'm going to take Chet's girlfriend from him one day. I'm going to come back in a Z-Rock Z28, and I'm going to have a G-string strap-on dildo, and I'm going to date his girlfriend, and I'm going to show Chet that I one-upped him because he bullied me. He threw spaghetti at me in the lunchroom and made fun of my big ears, which, by the way, I grew into, Chet. Chicks dig my ears now because I've also stretched them out. I got 12-gauge earrings in them now, Chet. It's actually a conversation piece. Gets me laid. You see what I'm saying? And that goes through all of society when we have these entitlements. We want to make college for free, or we want to, help, all this stuff, the insurance, health insurance for free. It's like, you get enough stuff for free. Well, then what are we working towards? We need to work, man. We want... if anything, we should take everything away, take more stuff away. Now, a lot of people are going to suffer a lot. There are probably a lot more people that are suffer, but through that shifting of the sand, when you're mining for gold, when you're panning for gold and you're in that river and you're grabbing up this chunk of sanded mud and you shake it out, and all the losers in society get shaken out. That's our gene pool. We're shaking out that gene pool so that those golden nuggets remain. And I believe that bullies have a proper place to helping form and identify those golden nuggets, because the bullies are not the golden nuggets. They're pieces of sand. They're going to get shifted through. Most bullies I know in high school are still living in their parents' house, back where they grew up, or they're managing McDonald's or whatever. They didn't become much. But the ones they bullied are the ones that rose above and actually accomplished 3 times the amount they would have accomplished. And the bullies helped them do that. The bullies were part of that sifting of the sand, shaking out the bad ones, the gene pool getting shifted down so only the golden nuggets and the people that strive to make something of themselves even better, and that makes the country stronger, and they become richer, and they can have 20 kids, and then the gene pool creates more. There you go. And that's enough right there.
Yes. Let's go ahead and
I look forward to your thoughts on the book. What's it called again? A Memoir of Bullies? Bully? A Memoir?
Everything a Memoir.
Everything Memoir?
Yes.
Okay. Everything Memoir. Who wrote it? Are we not allowed to say the author?
No, we can. It's Viviana Rose.
Viviana Rose. Okay. Yeah. Oh,
so,
it's a true story based on her? She got bullied?
I don't know if it's based on her or not, but it says a true tale of terror, one girl's horrifying experience with high school hell.
Come here, man. Remember we were talking about your phone? I know you're busy. Are you busy? Yeah. I just have one moment. Come on. Come over. Hey, I'm doing my podcast here because I couldn't get Wi-Fi at my house.
Okay.
And I just want to say, because I'm I come to Starbucks a lot, but I'm using your Wi-Fi for the Starbucks. But
okay.
Remember I mentioned the other day all the flare on your hat and stuff.
Yeah.
Is any of that for anything specific or what?
A couple of them. Starbucks knowledge and stuff like that. I became a coffee master. So.
What is a coffee master?
A coffee master is just someone who goes through a program at Starbucks, and they have to learn about the history of coffee, the various origins of the coffee, do a lot of coffee tastings and stuff like that. So. Pretty much about as knowledgeable as Starbucks can get me in terms of
right, because you were already a barista, and so you knew about making the drinks, but now you actually know about the coffee bean itself.
Exactly.
And what does the majority of coffee beans come from that Starbucks serves?
Most of the coffee beans probably, we get a mix, but a lot of them come from Indonesia.
Uh-huh.
Indonesia exports the majority of coffee beans in the world. about 50% of the coffee in the world is grown in Indonesia. So
Is a coffee bean a bean or is it a nut? What the hell is a coffee bean?
it's a bean within a cherry. So it's actually like a little fruit piece, and it's on the inside of the cherry.
Okay, so when they pick the coffee beans, they're actually picking like a cherry type thing, and then they got to let that dry before they take it out, or they squish that all out while it's wet.
They do it both, actually. There's some that they say that it ferments, and then others that it just sort of let it dry.
So can they take that cherry though and make like a wine or something out of that, or some sort of liqueur drink out of this?
Not as far as I know. Most of the part they actually just use it for fertilizer. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it tastes like shit. You think because they must be thinking of some other way to use that stuff, but they use it.
Values in the beans, so it fertilizes the next crop of beans, and that's really where they.
Okay, last question. What year then did they commercialize coffee beans, and like what country did that? Like the Dutch or something, or what was it?
The first coffee came from Ethiopia, and that was about 678 AD.
80, okay.
So there was a goat herder that actually found that this goats got hyperactive from eating the cherries. So from there, the Christian monks started using that to stay up all night and pray.
That's how there's also Arabic beans, Arabica. Arabica. Okay, that's good. Well, that's all we have time for on the coffee side until next week. Good. All right, you got to lock up. All right, great. Thanks. Well, there you have it. There's a little Starbucks, coffee master talking to us. Did you hear some of that, Creech?
I did. I heard it all.
Yeah, he sounded like he had a few cups of coffee himself. But I like that the Christian monks were the ones that, I like that the Ethiopian goat farmer discovered the coffee bean, got that to the Christian monks who got high on it so they could read the Bible all night, got their asses handed to them by the Muslims, who then took the coffee bean and used it in the marketplace because at that point they, the Turk Empire, what was the Turkish Empire before the Turkish? The Ottoman. So it was probably the Ottoman Empire at that point was the one that, because they really controlled the world and the world trade at that point. So there you go.
Huh, very interesting. I bet none of our listeners thought they would be learning anything about coffee today, but it just goes to show you can learn anything, and anything can happen on the Dave and Creech Show. Now, up next is a very brief excerpt from our interview with Ryan Colluci. We have been talking about it for the past couple of weeks, and he's now finished his Kickstarter for Orient City. It's been successfully funded, so congrats again, guys. And here's Ryan talking a little bit about how he got into the industry.
We're on the phone with Ryan Colluci. I met you, Ryan, on the film White Space, right?
Yes, the epic space odyssey. It'll be done January of this coming year. It'll be done by the holidays.
It would be done by the holidays. We shot it sometime before yesterday.
Yeah,
we shot it before yesterday, right?
Yes.
And that's when I met you. And what was your involvement on White Space?
Well, I was the lead producer, and I also wrote it and came up with the idea with Kenny, the director, who you had a personal relationship with before the film, right?
That's right. That's how I got involved with the film, that I shot another movie which he was a visual effects supervisor on or something like that, right?
Yeah, he does a lot of
barter. Yeah.
Or he used to do a lot of barter work where it'd be like, I'll come on as a producer and do your 50 visual effects shots.
Right. And so you co-wrote that one, White Space, right?
Yeah, I came up with the idea with Kenny, and then I went off and I wrote like a 40-page outline, and I was busy at the time. I forget what I was working on, but I was like, I'm not going to write this script. It's not in me. I wasn't feeling it after I'd written like this 40-page outline, and the outlining process for me is a much longer, harder part. And then I had somebody that actually reviewed a graphic novel of mine that was like, hey, can I send you a script? The script was awesome, and there's a guy named Clay McLeod, and I was like, I got this outline. You want to take a read? And he's like, I'll do this for you. He wrote that script in like a month. I rewrote it, and within like 2 months, we were in pre-production. It was pretty insanely fast how it all came together once the script was finished.
So who wrote the script?
Clay McLeod.
Got it. And then the feature before that was called Battle for Terra.
Yes.
And that's a cartoon. That's an animated cartoon.
Yeah, it's a CG feature.
Yeah. And
I was right at grad school. I went to USC for producing, and I came out and was working with a partner out of there. And we were actually looking for a live-action film. And you'd be surprised. I was hitting every festival I could possibly hit. We had money. We were a finance company. And we were going to do like a $250,000, $300,000 feature. We could not find a feature to do. If we saw a short that we really loved, the director had no project lined up. It was crazy. It was totally insane. And then we saw this short, this animated thing, and I'm like, oh, let's meet with these guys. Most of the time when you see an animated short, it takes forever for them to do, and it's just not feasible as a feature, at least the pipeline that they come up with. And this guy had done this through the Fox Search Labs, which don't exist anymore, and he's like, yeah, I did this in a month, and it was awesome. And we kind of put our heads together, and we just said, screw it, let's do it. So we took the money we were going to put into a live-action film and got a script written, did the full animatics for the film, for the script, which took about a year, and did a scene, so like a 4-minute scene in final quality. And that was like essentially $250,000 or so, give or take. And then once we had that finished, we were able to shop that scene to cast and talent, and also we were financed pretty rapidly right after that. Because at the time, no one was doing independent animation, and the budget that we had for it was so much lower than what everyone else could do. But everyone else was telling us, when we first started doing it, everyone's like, you can't do independent animation. And then we're like, okay, well, we're going to build a studio in LA. And they're like, you can't build your own studio. And then they were like, well, you can't get cast for it. And everyone wants to tell you no.
Well, let me back that up then. So you're saying you had 250. Where did you guys have the 250 from to begin with?
Well, when we came out, it was me and a partner from USC, and he had financing lined up.
Got it.
That had committed to put this money down on a film, whatever we decided to do.
Got it. So it sounds like it was his mom and dad. Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't want to yeah, essentially. Let's say
he had money.
Yeah, he's a billionaire.
Oh, there you go. That always helps, right? That certainly helps. So then you made the animated movie, got a lot of good voices. So this budget to this animated movie, Battle for Terror, was $250,000?
No, that was just for the first year, and we got the animatic script and scene done.
Right.
So at the time, it was like if you made an animated project, you were minting money. And then we wound up riding the 3D wave. We finished. We didn't actually produce it in 3D. It premiered at Toronto, and after Toronto, we went backwards, and because there was a marketplace for 3D at the time, and actually retrofitted it in 3D. And we were supposed to get like an obscene amount of 3D screens, but I think it was Inside Out, or Monsters vs. Aliens came out right before us, and they just were selling out all the 3D screens. And at the time, Lionsgate was not Lionsgate it is now, because it was before Hunger Games, before Twilight. And if you have a theater chain that's dealing with Disney or Lionsgate, they're going to stick with the Lionsgate didn't have the leverage to say, you need to book our movie, or you committed to putting our movie in, you got to take this DreamWorks movie out. Paramount had a lot more pull, so we got like almost no 3D screens that we were supposed to get, and it really wound up killing our box office. But in the long run, like home video and internationally, it did really well.
Got it.
So the film itself, And we knew going in, I don't think I'm hurting anyone's feelings involved with the film, except maybe the director. The writer kind of phoned it in on us. We thought we were really young. We were really, I don't want to say naive, but he came in, sold us a bill of goods, then, was getting, I thought at the time, a lot of money. But he just phoned it in, and we got the script, and we were kind of devastated. And we weren't in a position where we can go and spend a shit ton of money and keep getting it rewritten. And the problem with the script was that it was like this weird, it wasn't funny at all. And we have these creatures that are cute looking, but at the same time, there's this war at the end and this battle. And it always existed in this netherworld of too mature for kids and not mature enough for real sci-fi fans. And the script didn't help. So when it premiered at Toronto, that was actually the reaction was, this is way too fucking dark. So we had to go back and cut. They went back and cut out not all of it, but like more of the darker stuff to kind of kid-friendly it up. But it's animated. It's not like you have this footage laying around on the floor that you cut out of the movie. If something has to be redone, you have to recreate it. So, they did what they could to get that, to make it lighter.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, the whole third act is an entire battle scene. There's people dying, there's aliens dying.
Oh,
it's pretty morbid. And then you have these cute little creatures. We actually had a deal with Burger King, or Lionsgate took a deal with Burger King in their Happy Meals to have the creatures, and that lasted all about 2 weeks. But it's pretty cool.
They did come out. It did come out in the Burger King Happy Meals.
Yeah.
But it's just because it wasn't out in the theater, it wasn't an exploding hit in the theater that promotion just didn't last that long, you're saying?
Yeah, it did not last. Not even, maybe a week or two. And they were like, wait a second, no one knows what these things are.
20 kids ate them and choked on them. They thought they were like, newfangled like apple chunks or something like that. Well, but first of all, I mean, that's a major, especially coming out of you're coming out of grad school, and you make an animated movie that plays at Toronto, and you sell it to Lionsgate, and it gets on how many screens?
We were supposed to be on 2,500. We wound up on about 1,500 or so.
That's
lost
still
about 1,000 3D screens.
Yeah, that's a pretty good release, especially when your figures end up like in some sort of Burger King Happy Meal thing. You must have been feeling fairly well about like, whoa, this is holy crap! Like I'm a producer and I made a animated major motion picture. That I started my own animation studio. Yeah.
You would think that, right? And I thought that, and I got no love, none. At the time, I obviously contemporaries, kids that had graduated with me and stuff that had done live action, like this crappy horror movie, and like no offense to, this was a bad horror movie. I love the horror genre. This was a bad horror movie, and they were getting more love because they had done a live-action movie. I mean, this is a movie that no one saw, no one picked up, and they were just getting – it was almost like I was a second-class citizen because I did an animated film, and I'm like, my budget is 10 times theirs. I have a much better cast that we were able to pull together. I literally built an animation studio from scratch, and it was pretty humbling because I thought I was going to take that next step, which is how White Space came around, Dave. The project that we did is
but before you go to White Space, before you jump to White Space, you have this movie. It's on Lionsgate, came out, and you have this animation studio that you put together, which is. What is that? Really, just a room full of computers? You're saying, or what? I mean, what's
essentially.
So, what made you shift? Where was the next cartoon? Because we're getting to a cartoon that you're now on Kickstarter. You're on Kickstarter. You're raising money for a hand-drawn cartoon called Orient City. But now we're in the year 2016, going into 2017. And I know you've been working on this hand-drawn cartoon for quite a while, quite a amount of years. But in between that, was there, when you had Battle for Terra out and you sold it to Lionsgate, there must have been some sort of idea of what's next on the slate with animation and this animation studio. Where did you see that going?
Welcome back, guys. If you want to hear the full interview with Dave and Ryan Colluci, make sure you go on Spreaker.com, keyword The Dave and Creech Show, or check us out on iTunes, and go back about 2 or 3 podcasts from this one, and you can actually listen to the full interview. It's a good listen, and he's just getting started from where we cut it, so there's a ton of information for aspiring filmmakers and animators to check out. So once again, make sure you check us out on the Dave and Creech Show on Spreaker and iTunes. Up next is our interview with Denis O'Hare. This is actually an interview with one of Dave's favorite people to talk about. The David Davidson has actually interviewed Denis for us twice. One on our old podcast, Creech Questions, and one for the Dave and Creech Show. So what I'm going to do, actually, one of the cool things about doing interviews at places like Walker Stalker Con is you can actually, when you re-interview them, you kind of complete interviews, because when we first interviewed Denis, American Horror Story Hotel was still airing, so we talked up to where they were at, and going back in April of this year and interviewing again with Hotel having finished, we were able to get the second half, and now, in all honesty, do a complete full interview. So we hope you enjoy. This is the David Davidson interviewing Denis O'Hare.
Denis, can you tell us a little bit about working on True Blood?
It was awesome. It was a really great show. I came in season 3, and I didn't really know how long I was going to last, and I thought maybe I would die. It told me you're probably going to die because you'll probably come back from the dead. Didn't know when, but they had a feeling. And it was just a laugh riot. I mean, it was a great cast. It's a great show. It was one of my favorite jobs ever.
Do you have a favorite moment you want to talk about?
You know, for me, it won't be one that many people know. It was a moment when I was smoking cigars with Bill's character. And it was a moment when I realized that Russell was illiterate and that he actually couldn't read words. But he could read other things. He could read smoke. He could read people's intentions. He could read the blood in their eyes. He could read, blood beneath their veins. And that's how he read. And it was kind of a revelation for me about who the character was. And it was really, really fun. And again, it's something not many people know, but it was a great scene.
Do you have any funny stories from working on the set of True Blood?
Oh my God. I'm trying to think. Oddly enough, not a lot of funny stories. It was a pretty intense set. I mean, we definitely had fun as a cast, but there's a lot of fire, there's a lot of blood, people were dying all the time, we were riding horses, we had real wolves around. So it was a fairly, serious set. Yeah, I'm trying to think. It was
no pranksters
serious.
At all.
No pranksters. One thing, there was a dead frog that somebody had run over, and it was a frog that was encased in plastic. And if your cell phone went off on the set during a take, you had to wear the frog of shame. And I had to wear the frog of shame one day, and I hated that.
Moving on, which of the American Horror Story series, which of the American Horror Story seasons is your favorite?
It's hard to say. I love Coven because I love my character in Coven. I love Spaulding. But I also love Murder House because Larry was such a great character. And he was so, I don't know, he was a weird combination of being innocent and evil.
Completely.
Which I loved. And funny. But I'm also loving this season with Liz Taylor on Hotel. It's a very unusual character, and she's incredibly powerful. And I love playing that power.
And speaking of Liz Taylor, can you tell me a little bit about what it's like playing that character? Or maybe a little bit of backstory about Liz Taylor?
Well, her backstory is coming up this week on TV. I don't want to blow it too much, but, she obviously was, she had a family. She had a family, and at one point that she abandoned that because she was in pursuit of her identity. And she's a person with a lot of pain in her background, and in this season she actually ends up going through a lot of pain.
Are you excited about the way everything's gonna roll out?
I don't even know.
You don't even know.
No, we're shooting episode 9 right now out of 12. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I'm like totally in the dark.
Since we've last talked, the American Horror Story season 5?
Yep,
Hotel has since ended. What was your favorite part about filming that second half of the season?
I got to have sex. Come on. I spent all these years basically being the butt of jokes or being creepy guys or being... I got to have sex. I got to like have a love life. I got to be in bed with somebody hot. We got to roll around. I got to smoke while I did it. I got to be witty. Come on.
Now, touching on that love life, what emotions did you touch on when she did away with that?
That was really intense. All that stuff was intense. The love scene was intense. The death scene was crazy. That was, and also while we were shooting the love scene and the death scene, we also shot the transformation scene where Lady Gaga's character, Countess, helps me transition into my female version. And that was kind of all back to back, even though they weren't shown consecutively. So it was like 4 days of incredibly intense filming. I was devastated afterward. I mean, I was like a basket case.
Yeah, I can understand that. Now, touching on your family, in the show, Liz had a family before she came to the hotel. What can you tell me about the separation there?
Well, she was right in thinking that they would probably reject her, at least his wife, because of the times they were living in. And so he chose to become she and run away, and was never quite sure that she'd be able to reunite with her son, but always felt guilty about not doing right by him. So it was actually really incredible that not only did she attempt to reach out, but that the son ended up being somebody who could accept, his father becoming his mother.
And with the transition phase going into becoming a member of the family in the hotel.
Yeah.
What do you think Liz's feelings were towards seeing all of her friends stay the same age while she was growing old?
She at one point was offered by Angela Bassett's character to be turned, and she basically said, no, that's not for me. That I think she embraced her humanity, and humanity means aging, and she was okay with it.
And ultimately, in the end, she joined the rest of the family.
She became a ghost, at the end.
In the hotel, and that kind of wrapped up the whole season. What was it like filming that last scene?
Again, there were really emotional scenes. We did the big scene in the bar with all the ghosts first, and then the next day we did that scene where they all kill me. It was really, really, really emotional. We had all gotten really close, and it was also Lady Gaga's last day of shooting. So it was supercharged. It was a really incredible moment.
Now, can you tell me anything that might be coming up in the future with you?
With me or with American Horror Story?
Both. Let's try both.
American Horror Story, no, because they don't tell us anything. They really don't.
Do you know? Have you solidified a part in that, or do you know if you don't even know yet?
No. I mean, I'm hoping I'm back. I trust I'll be back, but no idea what the theme would be. No idea what I'd be playing. We kind of wait for Ryan to call us, and then we say yes, and we do it. But I've done a movie about Edgar Allan Poe for PBS that will come out in 2017, October, because the real horror show, the elections, are happening this year, so we don't want to interfere with that. So we are going to wait till October 2017. And I've done a little movie with Melissa Leo, actually shot here in Tennessee, called In the Bishop. And I just shot something for ABC called When We Rise. It's a history of the gay movement, and it's with Gus Van Sant directing and Lance Black wrote. Yeah, pretty great.
It sounds like an awesome upcoming couple of years.
I gotta stay busy. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're staying busy. I appreciate your time, and I thank you for doing the interview with us.
Pleasure, of course.
Well, hey, that was kind of an interesting, a little all over the place, episode 22. I love the story about the Space City and the Sons of Anarchy. I was just expecting like this rumble, you know what I'm saying? This Sons of Anarchy, you know, just a kind of a gang war, whatever it was. You know, like think of that. What do you think is going to happen when you book a motorcycle gang at a convention? You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of funny.
Exactly.
Like, man, they don't know who they're fucking with, man. And when they get crazy on us, it's like, we're going to show them evil, man. It's like it's like having Charles Manson family reunion at your convention and not paying them. So yeah, look, it was a great episode. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and for all those fans out there that have ordered our T-shirts. Please send us photos when you get the T-shirts, and we'll repost them. That's awesome. I think it's a pretty cool T-shirt, and congrats again to Ryan in Orient City for getting all his Kickstarter raised and stuff like that. That's pretty awesome. I look forward to being in the feature film. Okay, take it easy. Starbucks is closed, and Dave Sheridan is closing down. So this has been the Dave and Creech Show. Creech, thanks again.
My pleasure.
Maybe we should do this more often. That way when people pull up, it's like I can interview them and they pull up next to my car. Now I'm slowly transforming this. This is the mobile radio show from WROM, the Dave and Creech Show. Thank you for listening. And tune in again next week, folks. See you then.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for listening to the Dave and Creech Show. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Dave and CJ. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Creech Creative Productions or any of its affiliates.